Sera Jey Monastic Dalai Khensur Tseten Sera Jey Okay. Again, good morning. Happy Father's Day.
Morning,
Do
Geshe.
you guys have any questions? You're just looking for the question there.
I have a question about the solstice.
What?
The solstice that came. We had just yesterday. Are there any special prayers for the solstice? Or not the solstice, the equinox. Sorry. The equinox.
What's it?
The eclipse, the lunar eclipse?
The eclipse, yeah.
Eclipse, I see.
Sorry.
Okay. 당한존 트리베샤 다데다 가리마다 저도 참 하고 그러거든. 무슨 뜻이 자고 말았어.
So the scientific explanation about that, you all know, right? We don't have to go through that.
제가 먼저 남배게 변했다. 배제 나데 다 셴바도 하고 오면서 변해. 배제 나데 다베나 빼 무슨 배가. 아니 단조도 니도 내가 전부 그랬어.
So according to the Tibetan Buddhism, the Tibetan Buddhism especially, the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse are considered very important.
아니 뒤에가라야 아니 개와 제와는 범준으로 봐. 득바 제와는 범준으로 그랬어. 그랬어.
And so at that time, if you create negative karma or positive karma, that it multiplies by like 100,000.
간제 대게 간에 중화란 저와 침보이 로요.
Anyway, it makes a big changes in the elements.
제가 아니 변한 남케게 다 가로 제컬란 저완 참발아야 말아서 냠렘 바수 아니 말아서 나게야 아니 다 소소고 따도 아니 롱도 틀레는 기본 로요 서리.
So just as it becomes there comes changes in the elements, then also it brings some changes in the practitioners, the channels and winds.
제가 대가가 나 남주인 마찬가지로 다 소소고 잘롱 틀레도 고 다 참모도 내가 제 도요 말아 나도 라파 찬지 배치다 말 참모도 고 내가 제고 말더니 참모 내가 제고 qabla 소소 개와잖아 아니 개와때 랍쳐모 도고 있어와.
So normally, our the channels and the winds and drops, only the gross ones are utilized, during on our daily basis, but the subtle ones are not utilized. So if you are able to utilize the subtle ones, then whatever you do becomes more powerful.
제가 단지도 인지 집에 qabla 지나서라 소와 만다 나와 만다바다 소소고 즉 남들의 만다바 작은데.
So therefore, during the eclipse, either the sun solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, do you get some kind of different feeling, different experiments, than other days?
나도 파시오 말티가 답변에 지나서로 나도 참에 고미세 켈랭 맞고 가래나 니마다 zamali para dawan dinoris dawad kare dawada nime zamali para nima dinore kote thought ke on baros.
So yes, you don't get any feeling, you just say yeah. So it's like when there's a solar eclipse, that means what? There's like a moon in between the sun and the earth. Is it like that? So it's just that. It's just that, you know, one of the planet or, you know, something passing through, so it's not really special. You feel like that, right?
제가 네 jamgoren 보체가 등고원체가 저 답하지 내버려 챙겨줘. 반다 토렌토 송소와. 아니 단순히 이제 집에 갑라야 아니 텐디기 수수 나기야. uk 땅달은 저도 송소와.
And also, His Holiness mentioned during the college organization, I think in Canada, he said when there is a solar eclipse, and he says there's a changes in the way he, you know, breathe in and out.
Remember Deborah? 아니 kundu drum shamba 송소. 니마치 kana namdol pewa yes. 아니 치 paratalaya 아니 치 나고 시가 된 가데 와서도 가시 가면 간제 남주도 만다베 초 가가는 거도 주마다나야 단진이도 이렇게 되셔서도.
And also he told us about other story. One time when he was traveling in an airplane, he felt his one of the nostril, either the right one or the left one, was blocked. And there was a different feeling in breathing. And then later he found out that there was, at that time, there was either a solar or lunar eclipse happening.
제가 강트르 아니 다 남케게 적걸라야 고 가리는 진 저반로 갑라야 아니 대다 건 레바이서랑 알아서 샘기야 간제 아니 살롱 튀래라 고 저반로게서.
So anyway, when there is changes happening in the external elements, then also it brings some changes in our internal the channels, the winds and drops.
제가 텐데 갑라다 소소 개와 제와이나 아니 개와다 톱치고 아니 니바치모 자기서.
So therefore, during that time, if we are able to do virtuous action, then our virtuous action becomes more meritorious and more powerful.
제가 양강도 배회의 남주가 가진을 세달라 안에 가로 잣 가로 니마 다와 상에서로
서울여부 말해.
맞아 어디 말 가로 간제 자질이야 너는 말고 본데 얘네네 사도가 그랬어 그 산에 너는 마 산에야 그 코랑게 다와 코랑게 니바 그 반자로 그랬어 그래다 안에 미드스 삼랑감라 제 차한테 되니까 저는 맨날 쳐다 샘제도 꽤 말아버려 잡 아니 지금 종합권 투대 버려 용거랬어 자자자자자자다 아니다 지우지래다
알았어
아니다 지우지래다 지우지.
So anyway, so there is also kind of like a monster, you know, that it says that, you know, that's just a belief. Maybe. It's swallows or eats the moon. You know, that's when you have the moon eclipse. You know, it's been eaten. You know, and then there's also belief in different religion that, you know, then some god will like, you know, cut the throat of that monster, and then, you know, before it gets into the system, it comes out through the throat, opening up the throat and like that. And then, and also like, if you make a lot of noises, and if you make a lot of noises, then the monster will not eat the moon. You know? And then, so that's the belief. And then during that time, like people will beat the dogs, you know, the stray dogs, and the dogs will cry and make a lot of noise. And and so that's the belief. Like then, because of that, the monster will not eat the moon. And then they also like beat, you know, plates and spoons, you know, make noises, you know, and drums and like that, you know, to make noises, you know, to disturb the monster from eating the moon.
And then ganzo pa이라만 앞에다 단대마다 딱 단대의 마차 공다를 봐. 그 공단 체가라 아니 공발을 꼬라잡 만나서 되네 그래.
And in the village, in our village, when the solar, the lunar eclipse happening, you know, which is in the nighttime, right? So they will go around, you know, the stupa or gompa, you know, around circumambulating all night and, you know, praying.
제가 대 나내게 단단가도 배회가 남배셔나야. 그러나 니마오셔라 빼 무슨 대다치 못 그래.
And among the Tibetan tradition, Buddhist traditions, you know, the Nyingma tradition considers even more important on these days.
그러니까 이 시단 단대가 말다. 시단에 남준에 뭐 룩소라 열었어요. 빼는 같이 못 그래.
단지가 없어라.
단지니가 난 범죄다 와요.
So when there is a lunar or in a solar eclipse.
어떤데 저래 제 장가 다 카운터 티컵라 간지 좋아할 때인데 저만 로그에서 왔다 가도 근데 손주들이.
So anyway, at that time, it definitely brings some changes in the elements when the lunar or solar eclipse happening.
제가 단다 가라서 벤다 시바라파마데 시바 참보는 것도 배지죠 땅 두고 말해.
So right now, we can only utilize the gross consciousness. We're not able to utilize the subtle consciousness.
제가 시바 참모데 배적 땅 타바네 니바체야. 아니 그래 사주 취하로 해서 와.
And so if we are able to use the subtle consciousness, then whatever we do becomes more powerful and more effective.
어떤데 다 카운터 때네로 다 가로 잔디 덴티 루슨들을 다 아주 대사서만 간지다. 시찬에 에네코 잔디데 다니나 고타 때문에 아니 뭐지 고 좋아서 주쇼고 좋아게 내가면도 내가만 몰라나 내가 말어.
Yeah, so that's the explanation from the Buddhist point of view. But in general, people just think it's like a spectacle. Watch something. So when there's an eclipse, they say, "Oh, this is happening once in like 100 years or something," and then they take the opportunity to travel all the way around, to look at that, right?
옛날 별에 옛날들이 단단히들 qabla야 아니 샘체 러다도 자치고도 깨자고 그래. 고도 하고 그래. 맨날 알아서 배 사기 주어도 아니 샘체도 고거는 아주 미마고면 고도 하고 그래. 야 소소지 소화가 간지 요사로 왔어. 간래나.
So when there's the solar or lunar eclipse happening, then usually the animals in the forest will make a lot of noises. So they notice that. Like the earthquake, if there's an earthquake coming, then animals notice that before we do. And so that they make noises and they run around and so forth.
제가 안에 샘제 소소도 가진 종회가 감근 로탄 거 전에다 가지 딱 캐나다를 요사를 당하도 하고 뭐.
And so from the side of the elements or something, so from the outside, so something happening there, then that makes something happen in the animals also.
제가 나차도 제와죠. 생각한 제가 지지에서 변나 리온의 진이 가게 할수있게 제도 리온이.
I have a question. The Westerners, which one Westerners, who they consider better, dog or rabbit?
Rabbit. No, it's just me. I don't know what
I don't want to just your one person's experience. Experience, just general.
In general.
A rabbit.
Is there such kind of theory that which one is better?
I never heard.
I don't think so. I've never heard that before.
People think dogs are very loyal and they're very smart, but I don't think people have very many opinions about rabbits except for that they're very cute and cuddly.
So you never heard about dog versus rabbit, right? You always hear about dog versus cat or something like that. Anyway, so if somebody said you look like you are like a rabbit, if somebody says you're like a rabbit, what kind of feeling do you get? But what do you get feeling when somebody says you're like a dog?
Loyal.
Loyal.
Loyal, so the cause jindala shooting.
Yeah, loyal, yeah.
So when say you're like a dog, that means you are loyal. So that's a positive feedback, right? It's good to hear that.
다처럼 야 보진도 아니 처럼 뭐 장보 아니 가로 로로데 달로도 덴바 미 장보 아니 시대 아처럼 미 롱라인도 사나 아니 미간게 와딱 야본도 하나 가오체게 됐어.
So of course there is a different belief in different culture, right? So somebody's, like in, so that's why they say, if you don't know their culture, and then you say something, something which you think is okay in your culture, and then it could be offensive in their culture, so like that. So it's better to know. But in Tibetan culture, if someone says you're like a rabbit, that's a compliment. That means like you are very intelligent, you are very smart, you are very gentle and peaceful, like that.
and then
So we say like very smart like a rabbit.
That is. And that chum me yabo shoe the mayor chum me chin out the lana, Peolana, Nico Dutachers.
So but if you say to Tibetans, you are a very good person, you are like a dog, then they will be very offended.
Yena ngetene koni chije pena lusola chise de pe and yapores soso jendango shinge sosola yabo song the hakonge kaji kadila tenso yange and chise de pe yapores and the chana michinda wandulana gaucha ngetene konyo te yena menas.
So I heard that in the West, people like it. People like it when they are told that they're like a dog. It's like they're very loyal, they're very grateful, and all this, so like a dog. And so they feel happy when they are said that you're like a dog. Is that true?
As much as I love dogs, I think if someone called you a dog, it's an insult.
So it's not true that in Western culture that to say someone is like a dog is a compliment.
No, I don't think it's a compliment. I totally can see where someone would think that dogs are loyal. I get that, but I still think in Western culture, if someone was to call you a dog, it's not a compliment.
What kind of feeling do you get when somebody said you are like a dog?
I personally don't really get a feeling, but I think that people could take it in a derogatory way.
I know.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Okay. 제가 배회 농설로 요래. 배회 농설로 되어다. 같이 좀 미치나 오들나 코 미디 차라 가우팅 말. 미르모라 오들나 코 간지 야가지. 그 야가지래 늘 챙겨다.
콘도데 지잖아 지금 말았어. 그리고 키도 둘라나 야부 지금 말았어. 지단 키도다 진다기 가든 챙겨다. 저 지단 계전이 요데나 콘도다 저런 키도 둘라나 콘도 가부 지금 말았어.
알아 제등에 가도 되니까 계셔도 미팅 시야도 생기도 고송에 다 저도 기대 근데 요레스.
So yeah, anyway, so I don't know, maybe you do you like somebody like compare, you like the person, with the kind of animals, right? So in Tibetan they do compare like that, so in Tibetan culture, but maybe in Western culture they don't. So in Tibetan culture, like if you say, oh, you're like a dog, then that'll be like very offensive. But if you say, oh, you're like a rabbit, then that'll be like very, complimenting, the person.
In American culture, it's derogatory. It's kind of an underhanded derogatory. It's somebody might say it tongue in cheek, but it's derogatory to say you're a dog. Yeah.
Yeah, they 야부 지금 말사. 제자로 술라야. 키도도 라나 지다다 템제 가르님도 지 콘조 뜸바이나 데 야부 지금 말사.
Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. That's just curious, 제가 삼성 간조 배나 미가 파초와 근데 한바고는 대 인바 세자진의 시 가당같이 고송. 시게다 미마사 계셔되셨어. 아니 그 대생도 들들 레다 지제들에 소거다 그 시에되자 그 대 인바 세자진 시게됐어.
배반하노라.
배반하라야. 그 계셔서 미마포 시에되자 같은 돼 봐.
So, but what do you get some is it derogatory if you hear somebody say you're like a rabbit or no?
I think in Western culture, when you say you're like a rabbit, it implies that you are like rabbits in the sense that you reproduce very rapidly and have a lot of,
It also means that you're fast. People say you're like a rabbit, that means you're fast.
My niece has a rabbit, and the rabbit is very present. And he just sits there and munches and looks at you, and they love their rabbit.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so Geshe said he heard some Tibetans talking, and then they said like, yes, Westerners feel very good if you tell them you're like a dog.
I just check, They say,
So maybe he doesn't know either. Yes.
Yeah, 남주 대용도 미카시구나. 대마이나 코치. 다 코로나치 코나테 임바 시자지 시대 대단가도 세체대회 세체대 빼는 것도 was. 다시 제.
So, just because somebody said, if you believe that person, and then if I were to say like that to people, then maybe, people will be offended. I didn't know, right? So therefore, always it's good to check. Just like Buddha said, just because I said it, don't believe, you should always, check my teachings, just like you will check a gold by rubbing, burning, scarring, and so forth, right? Cutting and so forth.
배나 게테 당게테 게테 임버트네 니마치 나고나네 다 남는 거 때문에 저도 다 기실라 때문에 되게로 마치 고나네야 다 처럼서 빼야거든 근데 미치려들나 저도 샘을 치셔라 가오서 말아.
So if I have believed that person, and then if I want to compliment you and you say, oh, you are so good and you're like a dog, you will be offended.
Yeah, I think it's good to say, like, you're like a dog because you're so loyal, or you're like a bunny or rabbit because you're so pleasant to be around, or like say why. And I think that helps.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Express the quality with that also. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. This is just, I like to just discussion. Sometimes, we just discussion some garbage things, I don't have to do serious. Yeah, 다지나 당도 좀 다 들이나 당도 다 잠벌레게 다 빠웨게 되셔는 was 다 빠웨게 되셔야 돼. And
so today is Father's Day, right? Consider.
빠웨게 되셔 아메게 되셔야 될 놈한테 못 써도.
So in this country, you have Father's Day and Mother's Day and so forth, right?
제가 당고네 내가 다 파메가 가든 해야 돼. 또 다가도 콘. 다 대상이나 다 자제 간라 메토도지 이게도 지라스코 셈나 초와 메나고 원하로 차사로. 문에 지나 셈랑게 초와께서 소소 빠와 영해지 바이나 아니 다 드린 거네 빠와 말지 폰다고 땅지 계산다고 셰 된대치하다. 그래서 명예가 당고도 주켈랭이지나 아니 대체돼요. 물론도 잡지나 당고네 딱 밤에까지 손대치와 차거와.
So nowadays, like because of the internet, so everybody just wishes other person, even if they are related or not, as a father, just even as a friend or somebody that you just wish that person happy Father's Day. But actual Father's Day, to wish that to one's own real father, that's to do by remembering his kindness, that he has done so much for you, and to remember that kindness, just like remember the kindness of the mother, and then you wish happy Mother's Day to mother. You also think of your father and how kind he has been to you and how much he has done for you, and by remembering his kindness, then you wish him happy Father's Day. That's a very good thing.
제자배는 간도 배배 루소 바나 샤쇼고 마셔다 대상하고 오면 대상다 버리면 ně마이나 다 빠와 되는 게 미사되는 게 차서 저도 다 바비키고 그래.
Like in Tibetan culture, and not maybe necessarily nowadays, but in old days, the father takes the whole responsibility of the family.
간지 다 아메게 내가 가래래 빨라가 나라 칼라교다 칼라 소야다 안 뿌글라 둘로 요하다 간지 나는 질려다 빨래게 빠와가 개다 가래 칼라 미간가라 칼라 따다서야 요와 둘로가 그냥 요와 그 노도치는 킹에다 빠와 차거든 된다 빠와래 간지 남이게 개 쪼데 빠베키 가도 라거레스.
So usually it says that the father is the one who takes the full responsibility of bringing the things into the house, and then like the food, clothing, and all the things, and then mother's responsibility is to prepare the food. Once the father brings, then she prepares and then feeds all the children.
제가 아니 보다 남이들 지 내도 가는 용건도 가래가래 제거도 가래가래 제냐가면도 더 참아 개 차상 빠와기 그랬어.
And so whatever that is necessary, for the family to be done, the whole responsibility is taken by father to fulfill that.
아니 출로라야 빠와대 왕차요 그랬어요. 나로라야 마차 아마대 왕차 그랬어.
the outside father is more powerful, but inside home mother is more powerful.
제가 네 근데 전에 간지 룩선도 같은데 요래 다 디자인하다 간가 간지 제가 아메군에 변에 칼랍세야로다 간지 근데 내가 전 제고 말해 간지 빠베 레카레.
So from the mother's side, she doesn't have to worry about finding the food. It's father's job.
제가 아메 레가데 가레다 빠베 키원지도 고 말아 사초 줘서야 돼. 내가 되네로 간지 두 전에다 간지 사사데 두 전이야 냐데 그러고.
So mother's job is to prepare the food that father has brought. So that's how they maintain the family.
제가 안에 다 간지 밤에기 뿌글라 제와사데 당간도 소소 파마잖아 맞지 좋았지 얘가 라고 말당한다.
And then the affection that parents have towards their children can be only understood when oneself becomes parent.
근데 제가 저도 되기도 했어.
Is it like that?
저도 맨날 당간도 뿌근 되는 말 쇼네 야팅 말았어. 뿌근 주셔 당간도 배울서 야셔 팅 말해. 뿌근 주셔 돼. 뿌근 주셔네. 쳐나 는 말.
네.
대 야고셔 팅 말어. 옛날야 되게 파마디가 다 게데 주셔는 주셔는 게데 주셔 야디 삼들 근데 삼도 좋아하려고 그래. 파마세.
What do you call that? The lip toned. Like some kind of disease where the lip is torn. The kids.
Cleft palate.
Cold sore? Oh, cleft or cold sore?
Yeah, cleft lip, I think.
Oh,
Cleft palate. Cleft palate.
Cleft palate. So, like the parents, they have so much affection towards their children, even if the child is cleft palate, will have so much love and affection, and we will think that among all the children with the cleft palate, my one is the best.
대나는 변나 빠와 아마니 진라고 전나 변나 아메기 나로고 쳐와대 당간도 배회 님멜로서다 다다나 하고 매다 아메기 나로 쳐와대 아니 나로 쳐와가는 조바 출땡와 빠베가 나로라 가리면 가린 존나 싫어 싫어 뜬거 봐라 소소 주보게야 다카레 강에다가 돈을 진로고 있더니 룩소죠.
And then so the mother of course shows more affection to the children. Even though father has a lot of affection, but he doesn't show it outside. If there is anything going on, he will not show it so much. He will take it in a hidden way and then carry on with that.
근데 다 동화들아 단래 소소소 간지 갑대 짜서거나 소소 주보게 아니 직달라 갑대 짜네 간지 소소 섬나 강에 간대잖아요. 소소 남이 셈바 맞게바 마용을 제대 고전되나 지 간동도 야안도도 강에 매너도 제그랬어.
So the father will not show the stress or the worry in the family. So even if there is so much difficulties going on, and the father will not express that, he will always handle by thinking that by like kind of showing that everything is good and everything will be all right like that.
야 데려다나 야 안에 지금 다 아마세대 야 선배 춘주지 아니 지금 같이 선배 춘주서나 야한테 특징 저게 되면 가지 간제 선배대 다 텔라 시험도 간제 선배 춘주지 근데야야 갑툭파 떠용 왔더니 이거 그랬어.
Whereas the mother is more like what do you call that, more sensitive, and she expresses very easily.
제가 다 데고 내 야가도 내 누가 꼴래 막 근데 그 수부 적당 거 전에 소소소까지 남자 말아 원래 그래 봐.
So it's from the way we are formed, we have different expressions. So there's no, such as one thing is good or other things bad.
제가 네 변나 단대 잘하다 네 가르나 다 간지 미상제나 간지 좋아지면이가 냠도 그 칼라 냠도 레고레 철로는 문 냠도 킹오걸 강한 냠도 채고도 대다다 그 대른 내려서 계셔야 되겠면도.
So nowadays, both parents, right? They work equally hard. They both bring, food and money, in the house, and so you can't, say this is this job, this is his job, and this is her job like that.
제가 set당 그 맨날 수보
All share everything together.
맨날 수보 접당 거 전에 맨날 다 범액이 아니 다 샘가서 다 그런 미지 체요서까지 잠대 체요서 때때에 살이.
So from the way that the body of the male and females are formed, I think the female naturally has more affection.
야 시다 칠이야 아니 난 잠불래야 벤나 뽐보 야보 지어와이나 아니 대라 럽던 쟁이 게메 야보지 잡로다요 따레스 되게 샤쇼라 되게 계셔요.
So there's a saying like there's a woman behind every successful man.
제가 내가 샤쇼 어떻게 해야 돼요? 너쇼라 요는 하고메.
There's a saying like that in the West, right?
Yes.
제 장가 안에 지금 어떻게 제 장가 단다 정보를 뭐 지금 잠불리를 앞에 먹어봐. 게메 짱짱 리를 차나 잠불리가 간지 마트도 용어도 그래서 그 내가 키고 살대.
So, like that, if it's a very famous leader, if a very famous leader, then there is a woman, behind him, for him to become a famous leader. So that's why he said, His Holiness said, if all the leaders of the country and of the world, are female, then the world will be very much more peaceful.
제가 시당 거다 수보 접당 거 차니 아니 범에게 다 루부스건 가지 때 시대 체야 연구소라 가지.
And so from the way the women's body are formed, I think it's more peaceful and more loving.
现在반에 변나 당 가서 변나 미치게 몰라 적시거나 아니 초가 되 코시라 자베 전에 코 세나처럼 코 따다 슈토고 거 부모질라 참 피해 주시나 마체 슈토 말다 대사도 마음이 나 부모 몸도 하시다.
So usually, like when it's in the case of the violence, or like killing somebody, or stabbing somebody, man, will be more, going forward, to do that. But women, is like very reluctant to do that. But of course, that's in general. But of course, there's some cases where women are also the same as a man, especially the women who are in combat, like in the military and so forth.
아니 저도 되게 다 로지시거든. 배는 안도 파일이야. 부모들은 주바잖아. 부모들은 주바잖아. 아니 잘는지 파대 세대 소잡. 안도서 라해지 그래서. 아니 부모들은 주바잖아. 아니 저쪽 아니 나도 주바들의 대응 골쇼 되지 그래서.
I'm telling you the stories in my country, in my village, where women, when they fight, they will just pull each other's hair, or maybe at the worst, bite with their teeth, or and what do you call that?
Like this?
With the nails?
Scratch.
Huh? Scratch. Oh yeah, scratch with the nail, like that. I thought there was a special term for that, like animals. But anyway, so when the men fight, they will hit each other, or stab each other, and so forth.
제가 그 가리 파초발라 코 오늘 전에 고치 가로 파 슈체 슈에 고 톱대 요르다 톱된도.
So that the man has more intention to really cause harm to the other person.
자 롬바데도 다 되네 라파 파드는 그냥 로소요 말이야.
So here, people don't fight, like pulling each other's hair or with a hand, right? Not so much, right?
내 주바 내 자자라와 야만 내 자자.
Here, mostly like fighting through the phone, the finger, right?
제가 그 롬바스스라 제가 말로 제가 가지 대지션에 가지 아니 다 분명히 그 수보 차단 그 차네다 가지 단 종화 그 차네 가지 시대 차때 때인데 요사 때인데 인사는 거네.
Yeah, so from the way the woman's body is formed, and from the elements, so there is a difference in the male and females.
제가 대나지 배나 부고대 너무 많이 받나 아마냠도야 다 다와 골하질래 좋은 되게 여러 봐. 되게 자 아마를 초와 셴바지까지 다 numerawana 가지 루고서 그래.
And because mother keeps the baby in her womb for 9 months, right? And therefore she has even more stronger towards the baby than the father.
제가 빠와라 볼을 제가 아마도 들어와이나 다시 아마도 슈체들이 있어와. 뒤전에 전에 바나 산지 좀 내가 mother something being said 다시 나오면도.
And so of course there is affection in father towards his child also, but when you compare the affection of the mother and the father, I think mothers is always more than the fathers, and that's why that's why Buddha said all mother sentient beings.
Okay, 다들 다 제자 다 나도 Mother's Day 다 Father's Day 인바이나 간지 소소 파마 여와나 지 야다 르마들 가지 파마든 레바 명이 되네도 다 대나 야 된 레바 지나 야 두르다 되는도 나 소소 뭐네 지나 가도 추바지 메차네 소소 샘글로 따요 말이스 다 고야 내가 고카 카마타로 내구셔나 샘글가 내로 따요 말이 대단한 저기요 말이.
So therefore, anyway, on these special days of Mother's Day and Father's Day, it's good to remember the kindness of the parents and then wish them with that remembrance. And so nowadays, in this country, so many children, don't have a good relationship with their parents, and they don't care or they don't contact so much with their parents. But as a Buddhist, from even if you don't have that kind of feeling externally, but from internally, you should always remember their kindness.
제다다 가상안으로서 되발라 아니 따뇽치 아니 되게 맛이 있어서 다시 하자마 다때 양주 시작하면서.
So now we have already gone through that, right? In the way how we channel bodhicitta, remembering, recognizing all sentient beings as mother on the basis of equalizing all sentient beings as equal.
아니 다 데리는 망가서 사진이 받는 맛이 전제사 되시고 그래. 전제사 맛이 아미 전 제고 그래. 다 밤에 돼.
And so now today we're going to go through the third one. I mean, so the second one, right? So where is remembering their kindness? Once you have recognized the sentient being has been your mother, then you have to remember their kindness. So did you have a chance to read about it? Remembering their kindness? Do you get any feeling when you read these kind of things? So do you feel like, oh, this is something usual, or is oh, this is something very different? So like if somebody were to give you $5,000 today, will you be very happy? So, but if your parent were to give you $5,000, you will not get that much feeling, right? They say, oh yeah, that's the parent's job to give us money. So you kind of like take it for granted, right? So you don't get that much feeling.
다바초라 아메가 조고나라 아니 냐와예바 근데 마티베 칼라 삼로 칸데 용고 요바 아니 단들로마다 쇼장자레 와 단데 님메가 자가 베글로서고 조바시아도 락파다 카크시나 마제 코 단데 카고 쇼도 메와이데 고테시에 되게로.
And so here, so it is telling us, how we should analyze, about the kindness, of the sentient beings, especially at the time when they've been mother. So by thinking, she kept, us in her womb for 9 to 10 months, and then, then she gave, she went through so much difficulties giving birth to us, so much pain and all this, and then after we were born, then we had to be raised. And we couldn't do anything by ourselves, so everything was done by mother, from feeding to cleaning and wiping and everything. Nowadays, there are so many good facilities. So you have a diapers, and you have a wipe and all these things too. In old days, there was nothing like that. So everything was just, you just poop there, and then she had to clean it. She had to use her hand and sometimes even her mouth and the lips or tongue, to clean your snots and so forth. So think about all these things, that she went through, to raise you and to protect you. Geshe, you remember when he was in his village, like they used to, like the children, they will, the snot, they will have not runny nose, so runny nose, and then the snot will come out, but then, they pull it in, come out, pull it in like that, they go like that, pull in, and then they play in the outside in the dust, and they have all these, muds, on the upper lip, even near the nostril, and it's like so thick that blocks, from the snot falling down, and so the parents they don't have anything to wipe on, and then they would just use their mouth to just lick the dirt and then spit out like that. Will you be able to do that? But if it's your child, you will do it. If you're a mother and if your child is in that situation, you will definitely do. You will have no feeling of disgusting. But right now, of course, we have all these facilities, so many different kinds of wipes, right? And you can just use that, to do. Why will you use a mouth? Right? But if these facilities were not there, then mothers will do that, definitely do that, because nowadays there are still mothers who are doing that, even nowadays. And same with the father. The father will do that. So both mother and father will do that for their kids. Then I have another question. If say like you are a mother and you have a 5-year-old child, and then either one of you will have to become a sick, and then who will you choose to be sick? The mother will always say, I would rather become sick, because if child is sick, child will not be able to take care of himself. All these things, he doesn't know how to deal with it. So, but I can do that. So I would rather become sick than my child. Is that true? The mother will always choose herself to become sick than her child.
Like Deborah, if they have some choice, or Deborah, you have to sick, or cat have to sick. You have to sick one. Then, if you have choice, can you sick behalf the cat?
Yeah, I think most parents would definitely say they'd rather be sick than see their children sick. That's the worst thing ever, to see your child sick. It's the most difficult.
그래서?
네, 다 소소 부부들이 나와 통화할 때도 눅쇼지 그래서 근데 눅쇼.
제자.
이제 소소로 안 나와 내가 같이 그래서.
제자 대 가르쳐 내리셨나? 부부를 제가 그래.
Why is that?
It's partly logical. The child hasn't had a full life, but partly emotional. You just have a spontaneous reaction.
Right? Love and affection?
Yeah.
다 지다다 간다 준저 총바다 간다 보고 나바는 보고 그냥 가보지 그라. 보고 나바는 소소 셈비 차기래 되네 보고 나데 보고 소소 코라다 동네 제도 말아. 나 소소에 나도 소소 동네 제도 그래 아니야 소소 탑시 제도 그라. 대제자 다 대저 저전에 하는 준세 여비 돈을 했어. 나 초년에 다 거서서 원에 다 대자와도 대했어.
제가 단답변나 보고 동네 제다 보고로 뉴스 숨체에 바나 간이 용사를 저도 소가리래서.
So what about a kid, who is 20 years old? Would you rather see yourself being sick or the 20-year-old being sick? If one of you have to become sick, would you rather be sick?
I would rather be sick, even though Kate's 24, and I would rather be sick than her.
Yeah. Or you muted yourself.
Oh, sorry. I would definitely rather be sick than see, Kate be sick. It's easy decision.
Exactly. 가르치는 것은 세워서 휴침을 yar로다 코ችን 마토 팅그래.
Why is that? In that case, there's no reason, right? It's not logical because she's old enough, to take care of herself. She knows what is disease. She knows how to take medicine. She can do all these things, but still, you rather be sick than her. That's because of your love towards her.
Yes.
I'm not a mother, but I would think that the mother wouldn't want to see their child suffer, no matter how old they are. Like they don't want their child suffer, so they would rather themselves suffer than them.
Yeah, like that. 제자도 저 삶로 땅인데 저 삶로 땅은 간도 소외래. 삶로 만드는 소외래 말이지.
So if we think in that way, then we'll get some feeling. If we don't think, then we don't get the feeling. We don't understand.
제가 가도 인데 양들로 테마카시로 어느 삶로 땅. 아니 되네 소소 세는 거네 그 영화로 좋아래 그래. 제 찍로나 알레 단들이 임바라 오타테들이 타테 아멜레가레 타테 그 영화로 차노도.
So therefore, you should read this part, on remembering the kindness of mothers, and in what way? Why should you remember that? So what have they done for you to remember that kindness, right? So it explains, so you read it once, and then you analyze about it, and read it again, analyze about it, read it again. So a couple of times, then you get more really strong feeling. Otherwise, if you read only once, you say, okay, that's how it is. That's how it is. That's a general, the general thing. That's how it is, and then you just leave it like that. You don't get any feeling. Then it's no use.
제가 다 내가도 추쇼는데도 추쇼는 시당이래서 추쇼네. 다 추쇼시다만은 소수 메체들은 소수 메체 간제 맞지 뭐들 라래 공지 파행도 삼아 요랬어. 소소라 지까지 된대지. 아 대패잖아 저기래. 이제 아마 야고 말했어.
So this is from the Dharma point of view, right? So from the teachings point of view, because we're in general, we think mother is the most kind person. But if you have somebody else, in general, in your day-to-day life, if you know somebody else who is more kinder than your mother, then you can think of that person as being very kind to you. It doesn't have to be mother.
제가 니마가 정월에 니마 이게도 멘다원 담주여져서 아니 직전에 부모지라서 기절아 차한테 놓고도 대트는 말했어. 내 아마 주요가 내가 백강에 대송스 아니 셰기도 됐는데 가지가지 연구 그랬어.
So like one time, Geshe and myself, when we were teaching in Maine, I think in Troy and
yeah, exactly.
The house, right? Troy's house. So there was one girl, she didn't like at all about hearing about the kindness of mother, because she said her mother was terrible. She caused so much suffering to her, and she doesn't want to think about it. 깨봤zam게 주고 가는 친구를 했어. 라바드는 못해서 이쳐서.
되네다 깨봤zam다. 저거는 이거 뭐 매워서 원차 열어. 좀 맞아잖아. 야한테서 그 그래 누가 되면 야가 좀 담당 못도. 나도 그리네 그 삼무진 도나 그 누가 장자면 야부쇼 거기 말았어.
So when she was thinking like that, she was only thinking about the bad, the negative side, only the bad things, bad side. She was not thinking about any good side. So when we explained to her that just the fact that she gave you a birth, is incomparable, with anything. You can't compare that with anything. Just the fact that she gave birth to you, and the fact that she kept you in her womb for 9 months, and the fact that she didn't kill you, although she had the ability, all the facilities, and she has the right to kill you, but she didn't. And so just remember that, and you can't compare with anything else. And then she realized a little bit, then she said, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's true.
제가 남주 전화도 배나 다 미절라 까지로 곰고와이나 아니 다 메팅 삼도 야보치 삼도 누가 지나 누가 지어치는 삼진 따요 말이야. 야보치 자 따 야보치냐도나 되게 내슈고 아니 되게 말레비차도 고마 냄토 그래.
So when you think about the kindness of somebody, of course, you can think about, there are so many things, good and bad, right? But when you're thinking about the kindness of somebody, you have to think about the good ones. And when you think about the good things, then of course the bad things will be, subsided by itself. It will be suppressed, by the good things.
Okay. 내 곰자거든. 내 곰자는 섬는 용어지거든. 그래서 만도서나 대래 어때더래 어따대 파멜랭게 단다 룸바들라 한다. 대도 코너도 랭게라도 코너니 대마도 코니 소래 되라고 소대. 랭게 랭도.
So, so we have to think about this, so you have to analyze and then meditate, analyze and meditate, until you get the feeling. And otherwise, if it's like that, then it's no use. Just like here, people think, yeah, that's their job, They produced us, so it's their job to take care of us. Like that. If you think like that, then you don't think about their kindness.
제작하는 다 남주 지나서 곰 삼로 담에 qabla 소소라 캡상다 존이 가르쳐도 대상부터 대변는 거래서 봐.
So when you're thinking about something to meditate on, then think about the benefits and the harms, right? So which one is more? Thinking about this way is more harmful or more beneficial, or thinking in that way is more harmful or more beneficial.
제가 변화 단단 내려야 가상 가도 가는 맛이 고면 봐. 맛이 또 봐야 뭐 제와이나 뭐 좀 맞이 된다야. 어떤 데가 붙이니까 내게 아마 전용을 해서 초원군의 레고서를 봤을 때.
So then, so think about everything as being your mother, right? And then whenever you think about it, you keep on thinking and keep on thinking, and then you come to like realize that yes, they all have been my mother. And then even when you see a small ant crawling around, then you say, oh, this has been my mother also. Like then you get a very strong feeling towards the ant. So you will not cause any harm or think of harming it and so forth.
제가 단단하도 뭐도 조절을 당 알아는 뭐도 내 저도 실로다 스코런 로게나 미치게 스코르도 저 아마 제니오는 게 캔내 그랬어. 내가 소확하게 요 말씀.
So because of not meditating on it, then we don't get that feeling, So I don't have, and I don't know about you, but if when I walk outside, I see the squirrels, and I don't get that feeling. I don't have that because I've not meditated on it, so I don't get that feeling. But if someone says, has this squirrel been your mother? And I'll say yes, logically yes, it has been my mother. But in the mind, in the feeling, I don't have that feeling in my mind. So that's because I haven't analyzed and meditated through which I can gain the realization.
제가 자도 다래 그 토할래기도 직진은 더 심히도 그 니제원도 체대니 제원도 그 내레를 맞아 그서 간지 까리쇼를 잘 제도면도.
And so yeah, wouldn't get that much of feeling, right? So usually when you see the dog or a cat and it's the dog is so cute, the cat is so cute, like that, but we don't think about that, a cat or dog having been our mother and having been so kind to us and so forth. Right? We don't think like that.
Okay.
I have a comment, Geshe.
Yes.
I'm Joan.
Yes.
I should put my video on, but anyway. When you said that about a dog or a cat, I just had to put a kitty down of 12 years. These were then becoming failed, and that would have been a very painful death. But she was with me quite a while through her cardiac heart care, which I helped her for 4 months continue to have a life which was adequate until, like, I let her do that. So I chose to just euthanize her on Thursday. The feelings that have come up are probably like, sorry. I did some reading and I found out about the Bardo, and maybe you could help me. And I'm doing my Omani Padme home to help her not be caught up in the whirlwind of, oh God, what's going on, to be more present so she can find a better life. So for me, not being a mother, this has helped me a lot in realizing what a mother must go through, which I've been a cancer survivor 3 times. My mother, since
your sound a little bit cutting.
Well, but this gave me
Joan, your audio keeps breaking up.
Oh, it does. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have a new phone, and I wonder if there's.
Why?
Okay, so what did you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is better.
Oh, I'm gonna go to the front of the house. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Is this better? Okay. So anyway, there you go. So I guess I'm trying to say that those feelings are very profound, and I'm very glad I have this opportunity to help this being. So I can't imagine what a mother goes through, because I used to do hospice work, and some mothers have to choose to allow their child to go. And it's very incredible, and it's very spiritual. For me, when I didn't do children, I had adults. I had to watch them slowly pass away because it was just too painful. But that happened with me. And anyway, I'd like to comment on that. So I think that it's helped me realize the importance of having this profound love for another being. And so maybe I can see mothers differently now, because I do meditate on everyone's my mother. And that can be very hard when you walk down the street. He's my mother, or she's my mother. But yeah, so anyway, I'd like to make that comment. I don't know if other people have had the experience. of that. There you go.
가서 야 우리 고마서.
라다 뭐 졸라데도 다 뭐나 다다다 저 말다 뭐나 다 섬자 샤인사. 뭐나 섬자데 샤인스. 티리다 뭐나 다 되는 저다 간자 뭐이다 심미지 로춘이 저 심미지 뭐이다 가서 많이고 내서 뭐다 세고 좀. 나네 그 나자 아르테미타 되는 차샤스 안티저 혼자 맹간 치는 세바이 저 되는 제바이 있고 다 뭐. 다 디가나다 뭐라다 지나 거기다 미시 동네 데서 경고도 줘라. 나는 싫어 지내는데 호스피스 같이 그랬어. 안데 내가 저 살았는데 보고 군조다 보고서 다 아마도 야마토지 때는 늘 캐셔 거라. 다 맞대. 그런 아마도 갈래갈래 좀 싫어. 통보했어. 안데 저 뭐라다 다 아마도 좀 간데 좀 맞다. 뭐라다는 하고 도도스. 그래서 다 신담에도 좀 삼조 가려 놨어요.
오케이. 제가 내거리에 제가 너네 지나 삼로 땅 아니 삼로 땅 와이나 간지 수수결에 제가 제가 쇼치 못 돼. 제가 네가 가르 팬 가르 도서 담아서 들어와 있고 돼. 다 내심제 삼방에 마을 나를 가르 쳐면 날 가르 팬 도서 돼. 들어와 있고 도서.
뭐 수도는 다디 가자디 다는 뭐라 심이 딱 가서 다 많이 샤져라. 티 몰라 테스 교바도 있어라. 티 저 조나한테 투민 나우스서를 베스트 되는 수도 다 뭐랑 다디 지하데 딱다 이민데 몰라 테스 샤샤야서.
다디 시오시다 맞대. 내가 상제 라들 뭐 보러다.
맞다 지금은 맞냐 보라.
보더라. 딱 간도 변다 다 시다데 다 텔로 루자가 변다 간도 배외기 루소 임바이나. 아니 가르미가 가르치가 나고 딱 코로나때 시된다고 가르치나 코로나 소소가 다 가로 아주 우 맞아봐 샤샤가 됐어. 세 루소요 말해 가지. 니코야 루소에 제가 말해.
그래 맞다. 다 콘도 니코와 제바나다 코 동갈 타도 그랬어. 동갈 영 말았어. 섬저 되는 시거라.
제가 안에 다 전화도 삼도돼. 쇼치네 데레스 다코 첸데 동가 다 나외 동가 탈송거든요. 고치와 셔마치 가와치에 가리지만 간도 하고 면서 간도체 마와바 가와다 하고 면서 그 내려 샤잖아. 아니 간도 지체해서 간도 삼다다 두드려 있으나 대 자자대 다 리그송을 laptop 말와.
So yeah, I mean, if you think about, in that way, all this, analyze, the reasons and then think about the examples like that, then it will help, to get more affection, more feeling, and think about their kindness and so forth. And then another thing about, putting into sleep, putting the animals into sleep, that is, from the Buddhist point, that's not something that is encouraged to do. Because no matter how much suffering they're going through, yes, by putting them to sleep, they might be free from the suffering that they're going through now, but then we don't know what kind of suffering they're going to go into again. So let's say, if that, the being is going to be born in a worse situation, a worse rebirth, then, it's going to go through even more suffering. And so, compared to the suffering that the animal is going through now, that suffering will be 100,000 times more, intense. And but by experiencing this suffering now, they can be exhausting their negative karma, so that they will not have to go through that kind of suffering. So from the Buddhist point, because of that reason, no matter what, and how much they're going through, we don't get involved, in taking their life, or ending their, life in this way. That's not encouraged. But anyway, so that's from the Buddhist, the reason behind the Buddhist teaching in that way. But of course, for different people have different reasons. So we can't say, so definitely that that the animal will be born in the even worse situation, or maybe after this we'll have a better rebirth. Who knows, right? Who knows? Then that way, really, you have ended the suffering, and then he's going to go, the animal is going to go and have a good rebirth. And that way, of course, but we don't know, So since we don't know, we can't be sure, to take that responsibility of creating such negative karma.
제가 다 지나들이 지원하다고 지원 산살에 다 대금 삼도 많은데 대tem바치 많은데 많아니 된적이 어렸어.
So yeah, but in your case, you have already done it, and like you said, you are doing all the prayers for the cat, the Omani Pemehum, and that's very good, so we'll all do that for you. 제가
아니 조바치 아니 샤바치나 만다가 디파요 말에.
And if we have created negative karma, then we can purify that, through the regret, and confession. So there isn't any negative karma that cannot be purified through regret and purification.
Thank you.
So you have heard about this Buddha Shakyamunis, one of his previous life, where he killed one of the bad guy, to protect.
Oh yes. Yes.
And so like that, if you have, like that kind of a reason, to protect, 500 merchants and then also, the killing that bad guy out of great compassion towards the bad guy, so that he will not create negative karma and fall in line. So that kind of strong, compassion, then of course, may be allowed or, appropriate to do, but in general, for ordinary people like us, it is really difficult to say, whether it will be all right to do that or not. And so then we have to have a question. I know we might have a question. What benefit is there of recognizing all sentient beings as your mother, and what benefits is there of remembering that kindness?
Okay, who's going to give the answer? No, whatever you think, just you can say it's fine, logically.
I would say.
Sorry.
Yeah, Lo, you can go ahead.
I said developing bodhicitta.
Are you sure?
It helps.
Okay, good. Okay, Laura?
I'm sure there's a lot of great answers, but what just came on the top of my head was that it's more in accord with reality. So it's always good to act, in accord with the way reality actually is.
Okay, then who else? Good. Yes, Jennifer, Bob. Yeah, Jennifer.
Go ahead, Bob.
You develop loving kindness towards other beings, then you don't become angry at them because you have some affection towards them. You don't get as angry, and then so that doesn't bother you as much.
Okay, good. Jennifer?
Because it's the cause. It's the cause to create the affectionate love, which is the next in the sevenfold cause and effect. So being able to recognize all beings as your mother and remember their kindness, and you're wishing to repay them, that's the cause to be able to generate the love and compassion that you need to create bodhicitta.
Okay. Any other people?
I think this is similar to Bob's anger answer, in that if I become angry with someone and I hold on to that, then it becomes easier for me to become angry about other people or them in the future. It's kind of like the track is already laid. So thinking with kindness cuts that off.
Okay, good. Okay, Deborah?
I can't unmute.
No, I can say you mute, yeah.
Well, so instead of seeing someone as a stranger or an enemy, see them as a friend. So all these people we encounter every day, sometimes it's annoying, but trying to remember that they were our closest friend as the mother many times in the past. And so not having irritation or even a neutral feeling towards them.
가서
혼자 다 가져라다 잠닝제 계시더랬어. 제가 하다가 코너 마사다 들으셨어요.
Okay. Any other people want to share? I think Marcus maybe slip behind that. And Mark.
You Can I say
Mark,
one more thing?
Mark, are you still with that? Yes, Laura?
Oh, I just wanted also to add that because it makes us feel good when we do that. So that's a good reason to do it.
Okay. Mark, are you sleeping there? He doesn't hear me. I want his mic neighbor. I got, excuse him. Anyway, that's good. Yes, Mark. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, I thought you were sleeping.
My audio wasn't working right.
Oh. Okay. Do you hear my caution?
Why do we develop loving kindness?
Yeah, what purpose?
Because it creates positive mental states, which leads to positive karma, which means you're not the cause of suffering for yourself and others.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, yeah, yes, yeah.
I was gonna say I agree. I think that it's probably more helpful for us to have loving kindness because it helps us to not create more negative things for ourselves. Like it helps to think in a positive way towards all beings so that we don't create more negative. Yeah, that's probably what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, it looks good. You guys good. Yeah, Paul, you have some?
Yeah. I know that thinking about this has made me much more compassionate towards insects, even mosquitoes. If I think about that the mosquito has been my mother, then, even if a mosquito is biting me, I feel like it won't really hurt me if I just let the mosquito take some of my blood, compared to the kindness that a mother would give their child. Like, it's such a little thing. And even if I have a little irritation from the mosquito bite, it's really not a big deal. And I'd rather have the irritation from the mosquito bite than kill the mosquito and take on that negative karma. So.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh, I had that experience yesterday where I was walking and the black flies were really bad. There were so many of them. And I just sent them Om Mani Padme Om message and thought of them as my mother. Same thing. And then they left me alone. It was so nice. So I didn't have to worry, but it was like magic in a way. So I was happy.
Good. Yeah, you guys good. 제가 대래 다토데 나도 타림보지는 샹철쌤 제야다 상제시다 대단 다투 그에 또 데려왔어.
Yeah, so, like you all said, it's right like that. Of course, the distance goal, is to generate bodhicitta and to become fully enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings.
제가 다 내가 그던데 수수절에 파줘발라 제와 슈치모나 안에 텔라미베 공로 슈치모 사야다 차도 슈치모 사야다 맞아 슈치모 제야 되고 사말테다 수수라 캡상 농고요레스. And
then the close by effect or the temporary effect, is that, like you all said, one will not become angry, will not cause harm, not become irritated, and so forth. So those are because of by thinking of them as being your mother and thinking about their kindness, then you're able to overcome that. That thought of becoming angry and irritated or causing harm to others. So that's the benefits.
제가 간들 안에 배나 아마 탐도 가도 남주 셰당에다 아마 남주 나가도 탐도 뿌고 공고로 사기도 왔어. 사쇼도 왔대. 임바이나 대소소 뿌고를 고로 사와다 몇십번 고로 사당을 라그마도 와.
So like a mother also becomes angry at the child sometimes, right? Mother, the child presses the button and mother becomes angry towards child, but that anger towards child is not as the same anger, not as the same anger towards other people.
미 셴바들라 코로선나 콘로데 딱 가지 많이 자지 코로니 딱 가지 또인데 소소 캡산데 소소 마케 받아 가지 코로 사대 그래서.
So But when you become angry towards others, it's, like the anger, is to cause harm to others, right? To cause harm to others. And until that person is harmed, your anger is always there, strong, becomes strong. But the anger towards child is for the child to become good. So there's a big difference in the anger.
제가 미 셴발에 코는 소소 캡상 말을 바까지 소소 고야도 맞춰 받아 탄다 코코로 사대 그러 버스.
So when you become angry towards others, you have your opinion, right? And then that the person didn't do in that way. And until the person does in that way, you have your anger towards that person.
야만데 대든 제가 지야래서 야만데 소소 따와도 그 말하고는 코트에 자대 그러 버스.
Either you break the relationship with that person, or argue till the person agrees with you.
세상에도 부부를 걸어서 다들 대나지면 도와.
So, but the anger to a child is not like that.
그래서 만져봐야 다 코로데서 다 부디 냥금데서 그 세미라처럼 샤샤 그랬어.
And if the child doesn't do it, then you say, oh, the child is not listening, and then your anger goes away. You're gonna keep on holding it towards the child.
제가 된데 채워도 어떤 채워질래기도 했어.
You see the difference like that?
제가 아니 그새 소설을 파초와다 제와 간지 까지 팀에 템바 슈침보 내세 제타와야나 그새 코로 사와야나야 슈침보 사가 말했어.
So if you are able to remember their kindness, how they have been your mother, and remember their kindness, then even if you get angry towards them, the anger will be not that strong.
제가 아니 오늘 란도인고니 점게디 샹조 셈바소레 군디 송도 죄송 고송 권유해.
Just like His Holiness said, so those who are really working for their own benefit are the bodhisattvas.
가래서나 삼에 젠데 삼는 저에 소소 상제 버려. 소지를 샹조 좀 지하라. 고 소소로 캡사라고. 셈제다다 필하데.
You get the most benefit by thinking about others' benefit. You're thinking about others' benefit, but you are benefited most. You by thinking about the benefit of others, you gain enlightenment. Sentient beings are still there in the samsara, but you gain enlightenment. So you get the most benefit from thinking about others.
제가 군도 그때 남주 송도 당고니 아니 란도니 야식송도 샹조 셈바소레 샤 송도 같은 좀 빼내가 누워.
The best way to fulfill your wishes is to generate bodhicitta. You fulfill your wishes by thinking about the benefit of others.
Okay. Any other questions? 제가 내 전화도 야 그때서 록 뭐기만 월만 조만 내 때서 록 아니 삼로 땅 소소라 내 바로 얘기도 없이 따오. 근데 어다들이 이사리 삼 되나요? 아무도 저 토할래금도.
So you should read this and then meditate and analyze and meditate until you gain some feeling. If you just think, oh, it is like that, then it's not really. So you have to repeat it and meditate and analyze until you really believe that. So yes, it's really like that.
제가 다 드린 것도 전쟁에 가도 옆에 셈바들 록. 야치기나 전화 좀 근데 셈라 다 땡고는 편소서 대 얘기도 안 삼성한테 들려도 왔어.
So we're still on that section of remembering the kindness of the sentient being, okay? And especially when they have been your mother, how kind they have been to you. And so there are other texts also, maybe not only this liberation in the palm of your hand, but other texts that explains them about the kindness, remembering the kindness. Maybe you can find that text more suitable for you to understand it better.
제가 지지가 단다는 대пт이에요. 단속을 뒤져치다. 진 삼점 뒤져 야요. 그래서 다 남배 강가고 남지 강간 로다 리포트 집어집어 다 대거 삼성 가서 다 대가리 다를 삼처럼 용음도 왔어.
And so maybe you can find also some of the writings by the Western masters, Western teachers. Maybe their way of telling or explaining is more suitable for you to understand it better. Yeah, so in Tibetan, it's just like it's explained like this, like that, and then you say, oh yeah, it's like that, you don't get so much feeling. But with the Western's writing, maybe you might get some more feeling. So read about, try to find all different kinds of writings and read them. Because the Westerner can understand the Western way of thinking, right? And so they can maybe explain in a way that makes more sense to you.
내가 이번에 단에 전화도 도나초나 장고를 뭐 책을 배는 가서 자발라 깔음 나타도 미만한 깔음 나타도 퍼블릭 깔음 나타도 되는 다고 말이야.
See the difference, like His Holiness, even His Holiness, the way he teach is very different, towards the monks and towards the lay people and towards the public. When he's giving a public talk, the way he talk is very different, from the way he, give teaching to the monks, or to the lay practitioners.
제가 나도 그 가디나 시야 집바 거라 로딱지 lumba치 감바보다 찍면 좋으시게요 말했어. 제가 군대 저원나다 알레 콘솔은 두시고 그랬어. 콘솔은 두시고 그래. 근데 시야 집바나 시야다 말아 생도 송도.
So someone like me, I only know one way, and then I just that's the only steps that I can make. But His Holiness is different. He knows what way to talk, to what kind of audience.
sometimes the ngato de pena pinge samabel pena Harvard ko ne kulukura yong ko na mikashi ga lamba chimje shingdos. And the language, yeah, then ro chogres de yong to de ngato samdo teleng dos.
So some people, like if you have to come to Kurukulla Center from Harvard Square, they only follow one route all the time. And then if they were told to go different ways, and they say, oh, I didn't know you can get that way also.
제가 콜랩사 찍으려고 제가 tennis면 담도 용도 대단 담도 양 있거나 시지에서 빼는 간도 남백이 쇼네 마 셰탄데 소소 삼도 지겠다. 다 되게 지야 시에 집발에 셰탄 만다베시는 양 고와때 답대하라야 될로고 그래.
And so, yeah, so like that, there are many ways, can be explained, right? So even though it's the same thing that's explained, but explained in a different way can make difference for their understanding.
Okay. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, 다 저도 처음에는 다 배나 전에 가상인이 당어서 나와질래야 많은 사월이. 저도 네 가서 되는 냠도 제외 봤어. 저도 냠도 제외. 가지가지 제외.
So now we've been reciting this Om Mani Padme Hum for 1 month, right? So today is the last day. Have any of you participated in that?
I can see Laura, Deborah, Asko, Muni, you also went there. Michael and Jackie. There's, I can see some people. Jennifer. 제가 안에 당간도 배나 나왔지라 만사월에 아니 다시 바바 시리즈들 레벨 가정 시리즈가 왕아도 토요래 상식을 샘께요래 다시 시리즈들 레벨 가도 많이 하고서 개와페 민물랍침도 쌓요래.
And so for 1 month, we've been reciting this Om Mani Padme Hum every day, right? So we have received the initiation, and we have generated the bodhicitta. And so with that now, when we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, that becomes very powerful practice.
제가 다 들어가서 개와 조장 거야 되래서 많은 사람들 개와 조장하는 거야.
Today, is the last day, so we're going to be dedicating that merit we have created by reciting Om Mani Padme Hum to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings.
제가 안에 가는 데도 냠주 치는 것도 다 알아서 내려 되면 다 사자까지 봐. 아프리카도 오스트레일리아다 뉴질랜드도 민마보 가지고 가와난 정도래까지 마보냐면 개와 납침보 쌓여래서.
And so not only from here, but also people have participated from different parts of the world, from Africa, Australia, and so forth. So from wherever we came together to do practice, we have accumulated a great amount of merit here by doing this.
제가 시리즈도 레벨 냠내 채와나 시리즈 코로나야다 시와인 바인자 미디 시대 사회 전에 미라슈고 때문에 같이 가로지 다 피스볼 헬러로 용거를 군디고 송고도 왔어.
So because generosity is the Buddha of compassion, right? And nature of gentle, the peacefulness. And so if you do this practice of generosity, then you naturally become a very peaceful person.
저도 없이다 남주 시전에다 아니 배배 메사디 미카르 라마 컨트롤에서 미 장보에서 미 야르브에서 시당가 다 시소지 되었어.
So in general, right? In general, people, there's a saying that Tibetan people are very, very well mannered and very, honest, very honest and very gentle, like that, right? In general.
대 영화도 가르치는데서나 대 땐데겠다 주주권에 그 많은 데한테 이집지 콜라고 말이 그 라슈 때그 간에 가르람나 깔리자고 말 같이 시험한테 열었어. 그 이제 터모 많이 그 시리즈들 내가 제서로 와.
And so that is because of reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. So it's very strongly connected with that. So like all the Tibetans, even like a kid, without having to taught them, they just come to learn it by seeing their parents do it.
제때 터모면 좀 봐도 맨날 바바 시리즈 타원 안에 산지 좀 된 데가 다 르되네야. 난 바바 시리즈가 늦어대. 다 샤쇼를 요래 해서는 되는데 르되마. 바바 시리즈가 야 아니 다 산에 간지 배 간지가 줘라야 가지. 아니 재성코와 마동거 받아야 아니 때마다 그 된적이 있으네. 근데 시리즈도 배배 발란 단 대바 말아봐지 살이.
So there is a strong connection, between Tibetans and Avalokiteshvara. Like Buddha also said that Avalokiteshvara's teaching, will spread, in the eastern part of the world, so like in the Tibet. And then he's generously also made a prophecy or has said that he will benefit sentient beings, especially in the land of snow, until the end of samsara.
다나 지금 바바 시리즈라 조단 텔렌쟁에는 지도 드라마요래 지도 드라마.
And then also there is this the Buddha of all the activities, all the enlightened activity, which is called Tara, right? Who is always supporting and helping to liberate sentient beings with our.
제단 바바 시리즈다 지도 드라마니 가도 배우겠다 취재 처음에야 걔네 지하게 지제 지하게 냐면 지하들이 차대요. 그래서
Avalokiteshvara and Tara are the common deity, that is regarded and practiced by all four different traditions of Tibetan Buddhism.
제단 탐점 군두고 송다 아니 군두고 가다 송사 도지들이야. 네 메세나야 생아 마쇼도 파지 많이 줄에 송도 로타바 많이 뭐 사고요 송소.
And His Holiness also mentioned in I think Bodh Gaya so that the most mantra that he's recited is Om Mani Padme Hum.
제장은 담점 가도 만에도 딱 고치지 만에도 내려고 다 텔레 신바이 싸고 오는 건 소들레기도 대대서 놀고 소리.
And we consider the Om Mani Padme Hum as a very small and very common practice, and we think, I think maybe it'll be better, more powerful, more effective to do other mantras. So that is the wrong conception.
제다다 네 많은 돈배 갑라야 쇼나 많이 된다듯이 학 아니 세명 여와체 아니 시리즈 곰네 제와나 땡데게 세면 여와 로요서리.
And so when you're reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum, especially if you do it by understanding the benefits or the meaning of the mantra, and then it will make more differences in your practice.
Okay. Today is the kanjer ani ngaraso dawachi saga dawa ninalo sachibe givi tsawala de september jewa no dawa tendeji jewa rismaji be tendeji jewa na kete chen dere jewa jenro sho samte chengaso ani ngoman chere.
And so now we're going to dedicate that merit we have created by reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, however many times you have done during this month of Sakadawa, dedicate it for the teachings of the Buddha to spread everywhere, and all sentient beings to be happy, free from all the sufferings, and for all the holy beings, all the great masters, the teachers of all tradition, Buddhist tradition, and all the other religious teachers, who are leading the true path and helping beings with their teachings, to have a very, very long life, to live until the end of samsara.
안 다나지게 다 단다 도염 내두고 잼배까지 남을라 몸 땅가 말씀듯이 틀린데 저 생각과 토마면서 사베 랭에 반에까지 아니 산지 고마토고 쇼냐마다 다 남을라 무사야 gel하지 나되게 저 내려녀도 저 저러 쇼 삼들레로 그런선.
And then also dedicate for the people who are affected by the COVID-19, especially those who have passed away, like over 500,000 people who have passed away, and for them to have a good rebirth in the future, to meet with the Dharma, to meet with the spiritual master who can lead them to enlightenment, and for their life to become very meaningful and to eventually reach enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And then also there are also like over 8 million people who are affected by this disease, who are going through the suffering of being infected by the virus. So also dedicate for them to be free from this disease, and have and be able to have a happy and healthy life.
오다 간트를 안에 남을래야 내다 무게다 만투마요 진로 쇼 삼배니
In short, may this become a cause, for there to be no wars, no diseases, no pandemics like this in the world. So if you dedicate, in that way, then it becomes really useful, beneficial.
And that is the next to Tane, I Pawakaji and Yamdujan, and Kundu Shapte, Ramjoja, Jabate, Chindongi. And then part of the Chindongi is.
And then also after this, after 12 o'clock, we'll get together with the Tibetans to do this practice. And so during that time, we'll recite the long, the extensive long life prayer of His Holiness the Lama. And then also there is another practice, called the praise, to the Aryas. For those of you who know the text, maybe you can prepare that and also share with others, who are participating in the practice later.
And then Papa shared the
And so it is, actually the praise to Arya Avalokiteshvara, composed by His Holiness Gyaltsang Gyatso.
Oh, that's
La.
Now, Maria, Tupana the Machimare.
Your cousin Gyatso, Maria.
Tupana the Machiro.
What am I?
Those Karchir Karila, the Kodako.
I think it's the 5th or 7th, His Holiness, 7th Lama. So we'll
7 Pajare.
7th maybe.
And then Tenegando and shared it. So did he done. So they by paying much, and then so did he pay his.
And then there is also Tsok offering. Tsok, is the offering, of the food, and that's where you bless it and then you offer, and then later you take it, to yourself as a blessing. That's called Tsok, and there is a Tsok offering, through the generosity practice, which is very short, but it's only available in Tibetan. Sorry, we don't have that in English, but Geshe will recite, and then we just imagine we're doing that together with him, and then imagine making the Tsok offering.
And then the Manasa and Mani Trankate and Kalengas to Kishos.
And then if you have recited Om Mani Padme Hum, however many number of times, then like 100,000 times, 200,000 times, 600,000 times, whatever you have recited, then give the number. Send the number to Geshe, say, and I so and so have recited Om Mani Padme Hum this many times. And then we can send that, for the dedication.
And yet, the Tamaru and Kundula Paga, and the Sayo, and that 2 men are on us, Shayomar, 2 men are on us, Pashuere, and the Kundu 2 men are not to tell Hayomare.
So we say, okay, we have recited this many number of Om Mani Padme Hum, and then we send this to His Holiness the Lama, and then it says, please dedicate for us. So when he dedicates for us and for the practice that we did, there's nothing better than that.
Okay, now to dedication, yeah.
Okay, page 39, Thanksgiving model offering. Saji Puki Juxing Metok Tran, Re Rabling Jini de Gien Padi, Sange Jing Du Mikeo Bagi, Dokun Nam Dagjing La Chirpa Shu, Jetsun Lame Kute Rab Ten Ching, Nam Katrin Le Chok Chugye Padon, Lo San Ten Pedrin Me Sasungi, Roe Munsel Tak Tu Nek Yur Chig, Idam Guru Ratna Mandalatam Niryatayami. From my two collections, vast as space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread or declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounty as peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and the children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may there always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chen Rizik remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech me all your holy wishes be fulfilled. Page 49, the short long life prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Majjhina's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Page 57, the prayer of dedication. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious Supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forever. Make return Chen Rizik, Dreamy can pay one po jam yang gang chen ke pe Urgyen Tsongkhapa do sang drak pe japa so de. Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, everyone.
Geshe.
See you later.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you,
got
Geshe.
that,
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Cho. Thank you.
Thank
if
you,
you get
Geshe.
checks, you can get ready. If not, you can just join with us, okay? If you like. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Geshe.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you, Geshe.